Hello everyone, it's me, back here with another review for Dancing with the Stars, Season 27, Week 2, Night 2. This is super late, so part 1, or Night 1 was on time. Was it on time? For the most part. But this one has been late. I've been dealing with a lot this past week. Wednesday, I just was not feeling up to doing anything. Thursday, I was busy all day. I had work and then I had class, and when I got home, I had some homework that I needed to do. Friday, I just didn't feel like doing anything. And then yesterday, I was pretty busy, and then this kind of slipped my mind. And then when I wanted to film, I couldn't film. So doing this tonight, Sunday night, only time I could do it. Yeah, frustrating, I know. But we don't have to deal with this anymore. Now we're back to just Monday night shows. So yeah, I guess with that said, I can talk about Dancing with the Stars Juniors tonight. I won't make it like a thing that I do regularly, but since it just happened, I'll probably talk about it because I was going to say, talk about how excited I was for it with this video, but since it's so late, I'll just talk about the first show. Yeah, with that said, let's just go ahead and get into the night. It was Las Vegas night of the two-city theme night or whatever it was. Monday was New York. This is Las Vegas, Sin City, all of that. Yeah, you could tell that the celebs were kind of beat by this point. They were exhausted, they were tired, celebs and the pros. You could tell that it wasn't that everybody wasn't into it, but you could tell that you could see fatigue starting to set in, because they've had to prepare dances. It's not like how it used to be where we used to have Monday and Tuesday nights, but they were pretty much off on Monday night. After they danced, and they could just go home and like recover and recuperate and all that stuff. And then Tuesday night was the elimination, and the only star who really had to dance unless there was something weird going on was the couple who did the encore, and they just were doing the same exact dance from the previous night. Unfortunately, this time we've had them doing, preparing two different dances for Monday, a dance for Monday night and then a dance for Tuesday night. So as soon as they're done on Monday night, they have to go right into the studio, keep rehearsing for a few more hours after they're tired after the live show, and then go home and go to sleep, and then wake up the next morning and do everything again, preparing, camera blocking and all that stuff that you have to do with the production of a live TV show. So of this manner especially. So I don't like the formula for this. I'm glad that they all have the week off. I'm glad that they can, not the week off, but I'm glad that they're back to normal. I'm glad that they can like breathe again, at least for a moment before we have to get back into them learning 2 dances a week. So yeah, that was just my little rant about the way that they did this. I understand why they had to do it because it's only a 9-week season, but yeah, it's less than ideal. So up first was Juan Pablo and Cheryl. They had a foxtrot and they got a 25 or 26. Nobody's scores really fluctuated that much. Either they stayed the same or they went either 1 point up or 1 point down, except for Mary Lou, but I'll get to her. This dance, I thought it was fine. Juan Pablo has some issues in frame that needs work, but we had talked about that with his quick steps. So otherwise, everything he did out of hold was good. He doesn't have too many issues as far as technique goes. As far as just his personality goes, he is fading into the background for me. I like him enough, and I like Cheryl I love Cheryl. I like him enough. I think their partnership is fine. It's just that there's a lot of other big personalities this season, and you know, he just hasn't really had a dance that has just like stood out. Um, and while it's only the second week, it pretty much feels like it's week 4 at this point. Well, we're going into week 3, so it would feel like we're going into, oh goodness gracious, week 5 at this point with the sheer amount of dances that we've been seeing. So, yeah, I just want them to have their moment to just really break out and shine. They really need that to really, I guess, go far, because otherwise, I had him like in my top 3. He's gonna have to start getting knocked down a couple of spots if he doesn't get it, or you know, really leave an impact on everyone. And Cheryl has it in her. I just don't know what's going on with them, and because their partnership seems fine. It's just I don't know what it is that's going on. Up next is Milo and Whitney. They had a tango. They got a 26. This was a really good tango. It was really good as far as technique goes. The issue here's where Milo's height was an issue for me. The first time I really saw it being an issue. You could tell that he was dancing, trying to make himself smaller so that he could match Whitney better. And this was the first time that you could really see like their size difference making an impact on his psyche. Because had he not been trying to match her, it would have been completely fine. But he was trying to match her too often, match her size, and it was kind of like making him like hunch over a little bit at times, and like just kind of just make himself smaller when he should be just dancing true to his size. That was it. The not intent, but the passion was there. The how the I forget what I'm trying to say, but oh, there we go. Ooh. Sorry, intensity. I almost said tensity. Like that's not a word, is it? I don't know. I'm having a semester. Let me tell you. Anyway, I thought it was fine. The score was it was a very good dance. The score was fine for it. Up next, we had Danielle and Artem. They had a quick step and they got a 19. I'm so glad that she was able to get a 7 from Carrie Ann before the night, or not the night, but before she left. Unfortunately, I don't know. I just feel like this was a good dance for her. I felt like she really let loose a lot more than she has in the past. I felt like she really trusted Artem a lot more than she has in the past, and trusted everybody around her, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot that people had to kind of guide her through. And there's just a lot of moving pieces and a lot of different people. And when you think about Danielle in this show, you think about how much more work she had to do compared to everyone else. And not just like work in terms of like learning, but work in terms of trusting and making herself vulnerable and all that. It has to be a very just exhausting process for her emotionally and mentally, as well as physically, to do all of this, and to open herself up to all these people and trust that these people are going to take care of her, people that she may not know very well. There's a lot that I'm sure was going through her mind. And I'm sure she was probably scared out of her mind every single night that she went out, because she really had to put her faith in every other people, that they were going to do right by her, and lead her through the dance and help her get to where she needed to be, safely. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't have done that, but still, you have to like trust people. Like that's a whole entire process. So, I thought this quick step was good after they actually got and hold her and Artem. That first pass that they did, I thought was really good. as soon as they hit it, it just reminded me of Amy and Derek's quick step back in season 18 when they did their first pass, and it just like lit up the ballroom. The same effect happened. Um, and while there were still a few mistakes, I really enjoyed the dance. So unfortunate that Danielle had to go, but I really enjoyed her and Artem together. I enjoyed their time. Um, I think she might have been relieved just a little bit, but I also feel like she's sad that she had to go and not be with Artem every day, dancing and learning this new craft with somebody who she obviously respects a lot. And, yeah, so just my thing on them. If you can tell, I really enjoyed them. Up next was Alexis and Alan. They had a salsa and they got a 24. I thought this was a pretty good dance. Alexis, I'm going to say this about Alexis. I don't think Alexis is ever going to churn out a bad dance. Really, I don't think many of these celebs this season are going to churn out a bad dance. They're always going to be either good to great or good to like amazing. So it was good. I had no issues with it other than I would have liked a little more hip action. And I think I just felt like she danced it too soft. And that's going to be my big issue with Alexis this season is that she's a very pretty mover. And she moves well. She knows what she's doing. I keep saying she knows how to move her body. She knows how to place things. She knows what she's doing. I just needed for her to really just get grounded into it and really get into the dance and like just feel it, and like maybe it won't look so pretty, but sometimes that grit and what is needed, especially in like a Latin dance, when you're really into the floor and you're grounded and you're like one with the dance, is something that's missing with her. And I hope they can find it. Otherwise, it was a good dance. John and Emma were up next. They had a jive. They got a 20. Very strange song for a jive. But Emma did a great job choreographing something for it. It was an interesting concept. I thought John sold it very well. He performed it very well. As far as jive content goes, Emma was very smart in keeping that to a minimum. And I don't really think the song called for jive all that much, but what jive they did, John wasn't the greatest at it. He's not bad, but he wasn't the greatest. But really, Emma knows exactly how to like show off her partners in the best light. They may not be the best dancers. Most of her partners have not been the best dancers at all, with the exception of Rashad. Most of her partners have been like mediocre at best. Well, yeah, with the exception of Rashad, all of her partners have been mediocre at best, but she has a very good record, and the reasoning for that is because she's smart and she's clever and she knows how to put a package together. And she knows it's not just about the technique and it's not just about the dance, it's about the performance and what you're able to show the audience. And that's what she did with this dance, and that's really all they needed to do at this stage. There's still enough people left that they can really get by on that. And yeah, it's good that he got that out the way because I felt like the jive is a difficult dance. I felt like it was going to be difficult for him anyway, so yeah. Up next, we had DeMarcus and Lindsay. They had a quick step and they got a 23. I thought this dance was really good. My issue with it was DeMarcus's frame. I thought it was underscored just a little bit in comparison to the night. It should have gotten a 24. But his frame, his left arm was doing something really, really strange. It was like he was like holding Lindsay's arm, but he's like bending his arm. So it's like doing this, it was like this weird tensity going through here. And it just felt like stiff right here, which made for a very weird looking quick step. On top of that, I don't think that the song, I love Boys to Men, love them, love them, love them, love them, always have, always will. Wanya was robbed. One of my favorite couple in season 22, Wanya and Lindsay, forever. That song wasn't a very good song for a quick step. So that also probably has something to do with it. But otherwise, I thought it was a pretty good dance. Just that frame needs to be worked on. They need to figure out how to work with his long arms and his big stature and how tall he is versus how tiny Lindsay is. And Lindsay is not that small compared to like the other female pros. She's like one of the taller female pros, at least from what I can see. But yeah. Up next we had Joe and Jenna. They had a jazz and they got an 18. This should have been way lower. It was an awful dance. I was cringing the whole time. They were doing like some snaps and I was like, what is this? It looked more like a contemporary piece than it did jazz. Maybe if it were like, I don't know, but it looked like a contemporary piece. The only thing that really made this dance watchable for me was Jenna. And if you know me, you know that I don't particularly care for Jenna's dancing. So, I don't know, y'all. I was looking for something to really just like about the dance, but I didn't like anything about the dance. And I understand that Joe knows that he's not a very good dancer, but his attitude is just rubbing me the wrong way. I understand being negative. I'm a very negative person. I understand that completely. But there comes a point when you do something and you get through it and you're like, oh, I did this, you know? Like for me, if I were to do this show and I were to get through a dance that I was having issues with, I would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect to have to get through this. And, you know, I would be self-deprecating, but I would still like couch it in a, I still want to be there type of attitude, you know? So maybe he doesn't want to be there. I don't know. Maybe, but it's just, he's just, yeah. I don't know. I mean, he really, honestly, he's the contestant he's not the highest on my worries right now. But I would like for him to just have like a good time one of these days. I don't know, but maybe next week he'll like or tomorrow with most memorable year, he'll really like feel better about his, I don't know, child. I don't know. Whatever, he should be happy that score was so high because it should have been about a 12 if we're being perfectly honest, because it was a bad dance. It was a very bad dance, and I'm not gonna lie about that. Yeah. Up next we had Ivana and Keo. They had a jive and they got a 24 for it. I thought it was a very good dance. Keo's choreography this season, especially these past two dances, have been very good. It's just very fresh. It's very nice to see, you know, it's just very nice to see other choreographers flourish and grow and shine. Other pros do that versus the same ones that we get to see all the time, while a few others, you know, get saddled with a partner that's not very good and who's pretty much guaranteed to be an early out. So it's nice to see him be able to really push himself and push Ivana and learn and grow as a pro, because while he's probably learned a lot from a lot of his partnerships, only being on the show for 2 or 3 weeks is only going to, teach you so much. The longer you stay on, the more you learn and all that. So up next was Bobby and Sharna, and they had a quick step, and I'm already rolling my eyes, and they got a 19. I'm just gonna be perfectly honest with y'all. Bobbies are irritating me. I don't know if I said this in my last video. I might have, I might not have, I might have hinted at it, but I'm just gonna make it flat out. He's irritating me. I tried. I gave him the benefit of the doubt with the first dance. The second dance, I was just like, okay. And then the third dance, I was just like, every now and then I'd see him, and I was like, huh, okay. But I didn't pay attention to it because honestly, I was looking at the background, what was going on with Haley, because she was cut in half. And I was watching them like try and fumble and put her back together, and like it was a lot going on back in the background with that. They were putting her together. They dropped one of the sheets. They had to go and pick it up and put it back up on her, and they were like putting her back together, but then they kind of like missed it a little bit, so then they had to keep fixing it, and they were like turning her around. It was an ordeal, and I was like, this is interesting. And then every now and then I'd see like them hopping past me. I was like, oh, they're dancing still. Yeah, I don't care for Bobby. I've been hearing that he's been saying like, oh, I'm just going to goof off for the first 5 weeks or whatever. And then week 6, I'm going to like get serious, and everybody's going to be like, oh my gosh, a drastic change. We're going to vote for him, and then get him to the finals, and then he wins or whatever. That's his plan. But he's under the impression that people aren't going to get sick of him before week 5. And I'm getting the sense that people are getting sick of him very quickly, him and his antics. So I'm not sure. We'll see how tomorrow night goes with him in Most Memorable Year. That might get people back on his side. If he cuts the funny business out, but I don't care for him. And to be honest, I would like for him to go next week or tomorrow, and I'd like for Joe to follow shortly after. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. Oh well. Up next, we had Nancy and Val. They had a paso, and they got a 20. I don't remember much about this dance, and that's a problem because in a cast like this, where I can remember pretty much even Juan Pablo, I can remember he has issues, or I can at least remember him. For the most part, he's probably next on my forget list or whatever. That's an issue. And to not be getting the scores that he's getting as well. It's fine to be forgotten, but to be getting high scores, To be forgotten and to be getting mid scores, you're in a dangerous area. That's elimination zone area, and I'm thinking Nancy's going to be eliminated tomorrow night. Just based on just not being able to stand out. There's nothing wrong with her. Her dancing isn't bad. It isn't amazing either. It's just very, I don't even want to say bland, but kind of bland. It's when she does the steps right, she does them right, but there's nothing really special about them. She doesn't go wrong a lot of the time. When she does mess up, it's a very small hiccup that shakes things up. But I don't know. This paso wasn't bad per se, but it wasn't amazing. Her lines need work. That's about it. I don't really know what else to say. I like her, and I like Val with her, and I think she mellows Val out a lot. But yeah. Up next, we had Tinashe and Brandon. They had a cha cha, and they got a 26. Incredible. Love this dance. Love the choreography. Love the concept. Love, I mean, the song kind of dictated the concept, but still, I loved the purple on both of them. Um, Sickening. I love the way that, I just, in the makeup and everything, I just, as a picture, it was gorgeous. Like, if I were to just take a picture of that, it would be something that I would put on my laptop screen and just like, open it up and look at it, because it just was a gorgeous, just like, um, picture. I'm, my brain, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, I loved it. I thought her technique was great. When I watched it back, there was one area that Tinashe messed up, very slightly, but she covered it up extremely well, because it took me like a third time to watch it to see it. Um, but still, great job. Her technique was great. It was executed great. Um, Lynn's critiques of them is kind of frustrating, mostly because this whole, you know, your dances are looking the same or whatever. Uh, okay, so here's the thing with that. Talk to the producers. The producers are the ones giving them circus for a cha cha. Um, and whatever that song was for an Argentine tango. And that other song for that jive, which I honestly felt like they should have given her the other jive song that she had, because it would have made it for a lighter type of feel. But they've been giving her these like edgier, tight, darker type of songs, and the songs kind of dictate the mood of the dance. Um, I've answered this on my blog before, but somebody was talking about like feeling of a dance or whatever. Um, and they said we're talking about how like Sharna with her freestyles kind of like, and Derek and Mark and people kind of like put together this staging and song and all this stuff to make you feel a way, and make like force you to be emotional. And then, but the thing is, it's like you have to have the song and the staging and the lighting and all of that stuff with the choreography and the dance itself. All of that creates the moment that you want people to feel and the emotion. You can't have somebody dancing to a sad song, or no, you can't have like an emotional sad story that you're portraying, but be dancing to Happy Birthday. Um, you know, with balloons and super like bright colors and a rainbow behind you and super bright lights and all that stuff, super bright fluorescent lights and like pink and green and yellow and orange. Like it doesn't work, you it doesn't work. So I still liked it. I do think that they will change it up this tomorrow, seeing as though it's a rumba that they have, so they gotta slow it down. Um, yeah, it'll be good. So still loved it, loved them. They're doing great. Finally, we had Mary Lou and Sasha. They had Samba. They got a 24. This was Mary Lou was the only person that went up 2 points. Everybody else either stayed the same or went up or down by 1 point. So I thought this was good. Mary Lou is another one who's kind of fading into the background a bit, but I feel like she's in a better place than definitely a better place than Nancy. Um, Maybe not as good of a place as Juan Pablo is. So they definitely have some issues, but I did like the dance. I thought it was a pretty good dance for her. I didn't really have any outright issues with it. Now, the elimination, John and Emma and Nancy and Val, not Nancy and Val, what's her face? Danielle and Artem were in jeopardy, and of course, Danielle and Artem were sent home. And I already kind of talked about them. So tomorrow is most memorable night, year. Most memorable night, most memorable year. So get ready for emotions. Now, as far as Dancing with the Stars Juniors goes, um, I just have a couple of thoughts. Um, One, they're all so adorable, um, and it really like made me have really bad baby fever. Like I really want a child now. I know I don't need one, and I'm in no place to take care of a kid, but I really want one. Um, that's number one. Number two, um, none of them were bad dancers. They were all at least okay to really good. Um, and the chemistry between the teams. So they're all in threes. So it'd be like Riley, Lindsay, and Miles Brown from Blackish, or like Cheryl Brighton and Manla Morris, or um, Artian Brandon and Ariana Greenblatt. Stuff like that. That most of them have really good chemistry with each other. Um, there was one team that was felt a little off to me. Um, Two teams that felt a little off to me, and there's some stuff behind the scenes going on with them. So where it felt like, yeah, there was a lot going on that felt kind of shady on the part of Gleb Savchenko. So um, yeah, and then we had, and also with Trip. But Trip Palin, I don't really make it his fault because it just seemed like he was completely out of his element. Not gonna, well, guess I could spoil who leaves. Um, the elimination was very sad. I'm glad that they kind of did it really quick because I didn't want all that emotions to be like spilling over and like kids to be like sobbing, and because they were already crying. Addison, I forget her last name, but she won Master Chef Juniors season 4. Addison, Lev, and Keo, and then Trip, Haley, and her aunt Jenna Johnson were the others. So those were the two that were eliminated. Trip felt like he was relieved, but the other three were crushed, and I felt bad for them. Anything else that I want to say? Um, the judges, Mandy Moore, I have gained a lot of respect for her based on what she did at the judges' table. She was the best judge of the night by far. She was the most able to kind of, be kid friendly, uplift them, have fun with them, play around with them, be protective and all that stuff while still like being constructive and being very clear with what she wants, but saying it in a way that a child of the various different ages, because they range from like the age of 14 to the range of 8 or 9, I think is the youngest. Being able to kind of clearly talk to this age group the way they need to be talked to, and this age group the way they need to be talked to and stuff. The way you talk to a 14 and 13-year-old is not the same way you're going to talk to a 9 or 10-year-old. You're going to have to like change the way you speak to them, and you can't just like say something but not be very clear about it. You have to actually like be clear at what you say with those younger groups, versus the older groups. You can say it and like be more vague about it, but they'll understand. Well, you can't be super vague about it because they're still kids, but they're going to be able to read between the lines more so than a 8, 9, 10 year old. Let's see. So yeah, Mandy Moore, great judge. Val, not the very good judge. He's not bad, but he's not very good. Maybe it was just first night jitters or whatever, but he just wasn't able to communicate what he wanted from the kids very well, especially again with those younger kids. You can't just say you need to work on your technique because they're gonna be like, what? Like, what do I need to work on? You know. Um, Luckily, they have their mentors there, so their mentors know what they need to do. But the kids themselves are like, okay, you know, you could say that with a 14-year-old, like, you need to work on your footwork. Okay, I can do that. With a 9-year-old, you need to work on your footwork. But how? You know, you have to be clear of what you said. And Adam, I just don't think he's the right judge for this. Just given the circumstances of the season only being 4 weeks long, the fact that he only did like how many dances? 7 or 8 dances, and 3 of them were not ballroom dances. Um, yeah, and then ballroom or Latin dances. Um, and the fact that he's judging these kids, a couple of the kids who have more experience in ballroom Latin than he does, um, as well as kids who will end up having more experience in ballroom and dancing by the end of the season than he will ever have. And I'm not going to like put it past him to look these things up, but I doubt that he's going to do his own research and look up the stuff, you know. Um, and he just doesn't feel like. I think they could have gotten a different celeb. I guess I understand why they ended up. I've heard that they may have. He wasn't the first choice, but I can understand why they would want him because he's the most recent Mirror Ball winner. But again, given the season that happened with season 26, didn't need to happen. Um, yeah, other than that, I enjoyed the show, completely loved it. Thought all the mentors did a great job. Celeb kids and the pro kids did amazing. Staff was great. Frankie and Jordan did a really good job of, talking with the kids and making them feel comfortable and just being good hosts. So yeah, that's it. This is a longer video than usual for Dancing with the Stars, but yeah, hopefully you all watch it. If you don't, okay. I will see you all soon. Till next time. Bye.